Welcome to the February 1st, 2022 episode of Reactive Consciousness. Not only do I have to say a new year now, I have to say a new month, God damn it. Our in-depth podcast about what happened this week in our lives. I'm your host, vysethebold, and this is...
Lotus Prince.
And we have another wonderful show, and we just have a lot to talk about, like some interesting stuff. And not all of it is video game related, but it's kind of like foundational. So, probably the biggest story, and this is just going around everywhere, and we have to talk about it because it's ubiquitous with the way that we enjoy media nowadays. Like, if something this big happened to Netflix, we would have to talk about it up front. So this all started with, so for anybody who doesn't know, Spotify is a streaming music service, probably the most popular one, in America that, is mostly known right now, controversially, for being the home of the Joe Rogan Experience, which is his podcast. And Joe Rogan is a faux intellectual.
Yeah, he's one of those people who seems like he'd be cool to hang out with, but he's like spreading misinformation and it's just like literally dangerous because of the large following that he has.
Yeah, I think that he wins over a lot of people because he's kind of has a very bro-y outlook on things.
Yeah, he does. He's had all sorts of people on his podcast, and I actually saw the talk he had with Macaulay Culkin like a few years ago, and it was entertaining.
See, this is what I'm going to say about him, is I don't think he's entirely a bad person. I disagree with him on a ton of things, but he also is right about some things. He was the guy who called out Carlos Mencia for joke stealing.
Was he?
Yeah, he's literally the person who restarted the look at that, the scrutiny of joke stealing, which also is a good thing to be brought up.
Also, there's a chance I might be wrong about this, but I think he also made waves in the MMA circuit by calling out people for like interviewing the fighters right after a match, including the losers, and he's like, they need to fucking align their skulls back in place. Could you give them a fucking minute?
Yeah. But at the same time, he's also a very transphobic person. I don't get his fixation on trying to disprove trans people and also people that are of other genders or gender critical or any of that stuff. He's very ununderstanding of that stuff. He's very ignorant of it, and I actively working against it. So I think he's just I think he's set in his ways about a lot of stuff. He is a funny comedian. I enjoyed his stuff from back in the early the late 90s. He was on News Radio, for instance, and I love that show. But I can't excuse that transphobia that he's all about. He especially focuses on the sports argument with trans people, which I think is first of all, I don't know whether I care about the sports thing at all.
and even if that were an issue, that's you're going to use that for the entire trans community?
Exactly. I think he uses that as an excuse to delegitimize trans people.
Yeah, there's so many little niche things that are well, you see, this one person could be a problem, which means if that were the case, then what if you used that for any other group? You could shoot down the entire human race at that point.
Yeah, so, and I also believe that if he's one of those people that I think believes he's smart when he hears enough about a certain subject from a certain perspective. And
that's what I was going to mention.
Explained in a way that he can understand.
Well, that's what I was going to mention, is he has actually called himself out on being a dumb person and maybe you shouldn't always listen to me, but honestly that sounds like an out for the bajillion people who do listen to him take him seriously.
Well, at the same time, he's spouting anti-vax rhetoric.
That's the thing. Like, there's nonsense, and then there's like actively doing harm.
And not only is he spreading anti-vax rhetoric, he's creating a lot of it, which is an entirely different thing. So I don't know whether maybe I'll retract my statement and say I don't think he, I think he's a very confused person that's on high a lot. And I think he makes a lot of money.
He makes tons, yeah. He's got a huge platform and a huge audience.
He's got 11 million listeners.
Yeah, there you go. But that leads us to the news thing of this week, which is... Because, like, this is one of those situations where, like, I don't know if I want to be the first person. We'll see if someone else does it. But Neil Young decided to be the first really big person who just said that he wants all of his stuff taken off of Spotify because he doesn't support that they're continuing to platform Joe Rogan. So Neil Young just left. And
let me state first that Neil Young is a very famous rock personality, classic rock personality from the 70s, with Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, and himself. He has a very famous solo career as well. Mm-hmm. And he kind of toes the line between folk music and country music. He's kind of like in the middle. And he's like one of the most famous musicians of all time, like from a certain era, but you may not know him if you're young enough.
Yeah, ironically enough, considering.
Yeah. But I will specify that him doing something like this is not out of character even a little bit. Like, Neil Young has always been an activist. He's always been, like, pardon the word, a woke person. Like, even back then he was a woke person. Like, he was he's always been way into activism. Let's just say that. So him coming out and saying something like this is like, of course he did. He's Neil Young.
Yeah, but also it's significant. Like, anybody could say, I want my stuff off the platform, but like you said, like, people have heard of Neil Young.
Yeah, and it kind of it started a chain reaction of other celebrities of a certain time period.
I was going to mention
other
Joni
singers
Mitchell also left,
and Dolly Parton as of right now.
Yeah, Dolly Parton's another person who's been like just a big, like, overall nice person and always on the right side of history for like her
forever.
Entire career.
Yeah, hasn't been one of those people that's learned over time. They've just always been, like, they've always known the right thing to do.
Like, even way back then, yeah.
And it's kind of I'm in awe of people like that, because you have to be an extremely understanding person to be that way.
Yeah, and Dolly Parton in particular. I don't know about the others, whether they are or not, but Dolly Parton, like, every account of hers, that she's, like, super down to earth, and, like, you could run into her in the store and chat with her for a while if you wanted to.
And she's also a musical genius. So, like, she's just and is very humble about it, but while still being a genius. Like, she's just kind of just has the joy of it in her and just wants it for the joy of it. It's just one of those things, and she's been a pro, a vaccine person ever since she helped fund, I think, the vaccine. Like, she like did a whole bunch of stuff for the vaccine, vaccine stuff. So, I think she's just one of those people that everybody kind of like can kind of gather around, because she kind of, like, breaks down a lot of barriers in that way. Yeah. She's so talented that you can't ignore her as well on top of it. So she jumped on that bandwagon. I think Willie Nelson did too. I don't quote me on that, but I heard him in the conversation.
I haven't seen that, but that would not surprise me.
Yeah, these are all
Willie Nelson's another guy who's been, like, a laid back, like, hippie, like, decades ago.
Yeah, but, like, there's a couple sides to hippiness. There's the like homeopathic weirdo.
Well, yeah, there's the just get high and that's it. But Willie Nelson's always been like cool guy.
And not only that, but like also an activist.
Yeah.
So like these people have always been for the fighting for what they believe to be the greater good. And it's hard to ignore their point of view because they're so open-minded and understanding of people. So over the weekend, I heard something like Spotify's stock price just tanked.
Yeah, by like $2 billion.
I heard, yeah, $2 billion, which is a lot. And what's also kind of funny is I don't know whether I should be admitting this or not, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it anyway. I joined Spotify just recently, with my wife, like that week, like right before this all happened, and it was because Spotify, for what you could say about I not doing it for Joe Rogan, believe me. I think that he's not illuminating. I think he has interesting people on that podcast, but he also makes me really angry with that trans stuff.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. Like, depending on the interview you see, you could be in for a good time, but like, the only thing I've ever seen him do was like the Macaulay Culkin interview, which was enlightening just from the adult perspective of a child actor.
Yeah, and I really like when he's with other comedians, because then they talk comedian stuff.
Yeah, they talk stuff that they both would know intimately.
Yeah, because they're both like when Bill Burr's on there, I like listening to Bill Burr in any situation. But Bill Burr's just one of the best people to listen to. Period. He's just
he has his own podcast.
Yeah. In fact, I've been listening off and on his podcast for many years. But yeah, but I'm not there for Joe Rogan, and I actually joined it because, unlike a lot of other streaming music services, Spotify has a lot of video game music content. So like the Konami stuff is on there, Capcom stuff is on there, and Sega stuff is on there, and I think Square Enix stuff is on there. So like it is the preferred choice for Japanese like video game music.
But do they have the Evergrace soundtrack? That's my question.
They might. I mean, I wouldn't put it past them, because they have obscure stuff on there. I think even this isn't obscure now, but I think even Nier's on there.
Nier is retroactively not obscure.
Yeah, Nier's on here. Let me see, but it was obscure at the time. Let's just say that.
Do they have?
It's not obscure.
Do they have Drakengard 2, which was an Ubisoft release?
Drakengard 3's on here.
Well, Drakengard 3 is the same composer as Nier.
Okay, well, there you go.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of. That's why I joined Spotify, and my wife was part of YouTube Music.
Yeah, I was gonna say I just go to YouTube for whatever I want to listen to.
Well, we have it on our phone, so we can listen to it in the car.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit different. So, but she had YouTube Music, which doesn't have all that stuff, which used to be Google Music. So like that's why I joined that. It wasn't a decision based off of a political decision. So, but yeah, I mean, this is crazy. It makes me want to think, like, do I jump on the bandwagon on like all this protest against them, or do I keep just doing my thing? But I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say what's right, because I mean, all these companies are bad too. I mean, like, it's not like exactly like Google's the savior of anything. They're a big evil company too. Like, it's one of those things. Like, what could you do? But like I could say I could say that what Joe Rogan is doing is wrong, which I absolutely do believe. So I'm gonna stick with that, I guess, for right now, but it's pretty crazy. Now, Spotify has come out and said that they will put a content warning that there may be misinformation being shared at the beginning of the podcast, but they won't censor him.
Yeah, well, that's a non-response.
Yeah, it is. I mean, let's face it. They know what their number one draw is, and it's him.
Yep.
And what are they? They're not gonna. They're not gonna
all of a
change
sudden,
him in
everyone
any way.
who buys into Joe Rogan's anti-vax stuff is going to be like, "Oh, there might be misinformation." It's a fucking nothing gesture.
It is. It is. So, who knows what the fallout of all this is going to be? But it's
hopefully more people leaving and their stock further tanking.
Yeah. I don't know. It's pretty crazy. Everything. I don't know. It makes me want to leave. Yeah, it does. But I don't know. It's we just joined it, but you know what? We haven't spent a dime on it because we're still
You're on that like 30-day trial period or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's kind of funny.
We might just do it. So it's a. Maybe that's the only way they'll learn, is
well, that is the only way they'll learn. That's the only way any mega rich entity learns, is when it affects their pocketbook. They don't give two fucks about, like, morality.
Yeah.
Why would they?
Right.
They make money.
You're right.
Like, literally, that's the only thing that changes anything, is when you, like, personally affect the people who have the power, because otherwise they can just weather the storm.
Yeah. I don't know. I also think that podcasts like his are really fueling like the conspiracy, the wacky conspiracy stuff.
That's the part that's frustrating, because otherwise it's genuinely entertaining, but then he goes into this tinfoil bullshit, and you're like, God damn it, there are people who believe this.
The problem is, like, one of the things about the conspiracy theories that I always say is you also have to believe in the fallibility of humanity. Like, I don't believe anything is that organized or something cannot mess up enough to accomplish like every goal
like the government's keeping all these secrets. Like, do you see like stuff that idiots just leak? Like, even in positions of extremely high power, you really think there's like this 2,000-year-old alien conspiracy? Like,
people
someone's gonna fuck up, and people always do.
People mess up all the time. People do the wrong thing all the time. People get caught doing things that they shouldn't be.
Like, when it comes down to it, it's just a guy at home who goes to work and does a job. Like, he could fuck up. Anybody fucks up.
Yeah, not only that, but, like, people in power are not all in league with each other. They're all against each other.
Boy, are they not. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I have $1 billion, but he has $1,001,001. I want that person's money. It's such a piss off.
They don't have some cabal that's all working towards the same goal, because that's not true. They're all working for themselves. So, yeah, they're not going to have a league of evil people that just, do
they all meet
everything.
In the Evangelion conference room.
Yeah, that's
the monoliths.
Bullshit. That's bullshit. Like, all these powerful people hate each other because they all want to be the top guy. They all want to be.
Yeah, they work with each other because that's how they increase their own position. But like,
exactly.
The moment they could stab someone in the back, they probably would.
Yeah, no, they absolutely will. They're all selfish assholes. Like they all hate each other. You think all those billionaires like each other? They don't. They hate each other.
Yeah, unless they grew up together, they don't.
Yeah, no. In fact, I have a hard time believing that most billionaires like a whole lot of people in general. They try to exploit them. And like
at the same time, though, I will give them one out. I can understand, like, billionaires interacting with non-billionaires, like, wanting to avoid them because they're afraid that they're going to be exploited. It's like, when you win the lottery, all of a sudden, like, everyone's calling you for favors.
That's why I believe that they don't like anybody.
Yeah, they probably don't.
that they don't even like their own family in a lot of instances. So like how many billionaires can you point to who have been good fathers and mothers? Like, no, none of them. Like, basically none of them. Like they all get divorced. They all, they're
it goes back to like
slime balls.
Like monarchy, like political marriages and shit.
Yeah, they're all slime balls. I mean, like they're all trying to accomplish something grand so they can get in the history books because the one thing that they want is impossible, which is they want to live forever.
Yeah.
They want to live forever and they can't. So therefore the only thing that they can do is have some sort of legacy.
Like a legacy.
Yeah, exactly. Or pass it on to their heirs, which they only are doing as a consolation. Like that's the only way that they can live on. So like these people are terrible. They're awful. I mean, the Jeff Bezos. Like, what more do you want? Oh, I'm gonna go to Mars now instead of like solving problems. Like,
that was
real
Musk,
fucking
right?
problems. They're both want to go to Mars.
Oh,
they both want to go to space.
Maybe they should.
Maybe they should go there and
just
stay.
like right now, just fucking go there.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's my rant about conspiracy theories, and you know what? I take all that anything positive back that I said about Joe Rogan. Like I said.
Well, no, I mean he does have legitimately positive qualities, but too bad he's more famous for being like a fucking harmful loon.
Yeah, because he's just high and he fancies himself a pseudo intellectual, with how he spits things. So yeah, he gets. It's that, like, Portal syndrome, Lotus. Like how Portal makes you feel smart, even though you're not? Like,
oh, yeah. Well, any game with puzzles, like, when they start you off early and you're like, oh, okay.
It's just like that.
Yeah.
It's like, he explains something in a way that makes you feel like you know something, but you really don't. You haven't studied it. You haven't been in the labs. You haven't looked at the data. You've just looked at, like, summaries and truncated reports and headlines, which is nothing, honestly. But anyway, it's really complicated stuff boiled down to a very small amount of information, which leaves out a lot. So moving on from that, you contacted me about this one. I actually don't know much about this one.
Well, this one is super quick. Ubisoft had been considering dabbling in NFTs. I think we've talked about this already. But I think it was the head of Ubisoft who came out in response to the criticism and said that the general audience just doesn't understand, they're gonna keep going with them. So congratulations, you doubled down on being an asshole. Moving on.
Yeah.
Fuck you too.
Everybody knows our stance on NFTs, so I'm not gonna belabor the point.
Yeah.
Next thing is we knew this was happening, but it's just kind of a sad day entirely. So the Sega brand name and Sega as a whole will no longer be running actual arcade locations in Japan anymore.
Yeah, which means, by the way, whenever Yakuza 8 or Judgment 3 comes out, you're not going to be able to walk into a Sega arcade. It'll probably be like a Genda Inc. arcade or something.
I doubt that. I mean,
it's not a Sega arcade. The games I'm sure will all still be there, but you got to rebrand the arcades. They use real places in Yakuza.
I know, but the Yakuza to a point is also a nostalgic series.
For sure. I mean, including and especially the arcades. Lost Judgment has 10 or something unlockable Master System games, which is ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, but also remember that Sega will still be making arcade amusement machines. They just won't be running the arcades.
But yeah, that's the thing. They're not giving up their IPs or anything. They're just they're selling their arcade license, I guess. Not the machines, but the building to Genda Inc.
Yeah.
Inc. meaning incorporated, not like
and to
Squid
be
Inc.
honest, is it a bad decision? I don't think so. I mean, arcades are not a ubiquitous thing anymore. They used to be the place that every kid hung out at.
Well, that's the thing. That's what I was going to mention. Arcades are either one of these or both, perhaps. But today they are a novelty, or they're a legitimate draw because the
Right.
machine experience is so crazy. Like, it's a full capsule thing, like that Ace Combat game where you're like in the egg or whatever. Like, you're not getting that at home. But like, yeah, like you said, back in the 80s, that was how you played video games. That's why the Nintendo and Sega Genesis were so cool, is like
They were nearing arcade
Super
quality.
Mario Brothers was an arcade game. Altered Beast was an arcade game. You could play these at home. Oh my god, because that wasn't much of an option before. Like, video games existed before the NES, but like arcades were like like unthinkable to have at home, except for like Pong maybe.
And let's face it, the Atari 2600, which was the popular system before the NES, let's just face it, that was basically the most and influential and prominent platform before the NES. Was very primitive.
Oh yeah,
even
like when
even
you see Super
compared
Mario
to
Bros. At the arcade, it's like not even
things
close.
at the time. It was very primitive compared to everything at the time. It was just popular and it was cheap.
Yeah, like you could have it. That was amazing. Like this is what you like settled for.
Exactly. But remember from previous episodes that like it was basically made from off the shelf parts, so that's why it could be legally cloned. Because
Yeah, well, I was actually going to mention that when what was it, the Commodore had like an Atari like adapter or something.
It was the ColecoVision.
The ColecoVision, they had an adapter that let you play Atari games, which would be like egregiously illegal today, but like they literally like just went to Radio Shack and just put that shit together.
Yeah, it literally has all the components of an Atari in the adapter.
Yeah, like I think James Rolfe had said when he brought this up, like, imagine if Microsoft put an adapter on the 360. Oh, you could play PS3 games with it. Like, people would explode.
It's bananas. But yeah, yeah, this is a big deal, though, just because, like, when you went to Japan, like, this was an iconic thing you saw.
Oh, yeah.
And, like, not only that, but, like, a lot of other companies ran their own arcades. It wasn't just Sega. It was, like, Namco ran their own arcades. Taito ran their own arcades. Those are, like, the big, like, arcade brands when I think of them.
Sure.
I don't think Konami ever really ran their own arcades. They may have, but they aren't as iconic as the other ones that I mentioned. But yeah, I mean, so nowadays you have something like a Round One, which is like an amusement center. It's more like trying to visit a theme park than anything.
Yeah, well, that's kind of what I mentioned about being novelties. Like, they have these Japanese exclusive arcade machines, a lot of which are larger than life. They're chambers you can go into, or the elevator action game is like a curtain that opens up. Like, you're not doing that at
They're
home.
theme
So
park rides.
Yeah, like, you can only really do this at the. It's not like, oh, they're video games. It's, oh, these are weird specific video games that they're either never gonna port or at the very least have not yet ported.
Yeah, and like, you know, even like a game like Time Crisis, like it's been home ported, but like it's way more fun with that arcade machine. I mean,
yeah, and Time Crisis 5, it's not port proof. They make crazy peripherals, but it has that thing where you step on the pedals to move around. You can map a controller button to that, I guess, but like, it's more fun at the arcade. It's like having the steering wheels for like Cruisin' USA, like when you sit in the chair for like Outrun or whatever. Like, I mean, you can play that game at home. People have it, but like, it's more fun when you sit in the driver's seat. Yeah,
it's not the same. It's not
like Radmobile. You could turn that into a 3-button game, but like, the whole thing is getting to sit in the Radmobile.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, and there are also like places that are basically museums. I mean, you have like you know, retrocades or whatever. You know, places that, you know, people go to visit the quaint old times, you know, that kind of stuff, and the history of things. But let's face it, people don't go and hang out at the arcade on a Friday night like they used to.
Yeah, you're not going to spend all afternoon spending who knows how much on video games, especially because the culture has changed to the point where quarter munchers just aren't fun. Like, a lot of the arcade stuff I've seen now is you pay for time rather than credits, because like, you want to actually enjoy playing the game.
Not only that, but there's also lots of competition. The biggest one being cell phones. Jesus Christ, like cell phones are literally the newest embodiment of arcade games.
Yeah, you don't even need to be at home or at an arcade to play.
Yeah, you could just pull out your phone and credit feed, whatever game you're trying to beat.
Yeah, just on the bus, play Genshin Impact.
Yeah, like do your dailies and then get your speed boost by paying $1. You know, all that crap. That's all from the arcade. I mean, that all the stuff that you're doing in Genshin Impact is what you would have been doing with Gauntlet back in the day.
That's the thing. People don't really like to think about it, but arcades, I mean, they're obviously pay to play, but they're also pay to continue playing. Not because it's been 15 minutes, but because you've almost certainly died.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of arcade games, the best ones are skill-based, but, like, a lot of them are not.
That's another thing, is, like, in order to give more people a chance to play, you're either going to get mad and walk away because you died, or you put in enough money to win, but the games were designed to be, like, 30 minutes long, so you're not there all day. Yeah. I mean, music games, you pay for like 3 songs and you give somebody else a turn, but you could be at those all day. But like Ninja Turtles, you beat the boss and you're done.
Yeah. So this is probably a shrewd business move by Sega. I mean, I don't think that they're out of line by doing this. It just kind of stinks because it was one of those things that,
like 50 years.
Yeah, they've been doing it ever since they've been running amusements, like mechanical amusements, since the 40s. I think Sega has, because they started off as service games. They imported slot machines for service members, something like that. Yeah. So it's just a bygone era. That's all. I'll let you explain this one because I think you know the details more than I do. I just knew the headline.
This is very funny. This is actually from last week. We just missed it last week, but if I say the name Tifa Lockhart, at this point, Final Fantasy VII may or may not be the first thing that comes to mind, based on recent news, because there was an Italian Senate meeting, and somebody was showing something on the projector screen or whatever it was. Like, I don't know if it was Zoom or if someone was just like, look at the board for what's on the computer. But someone must have had the wrong window open or whatever, and they accidentally showed like 10 seconds of like CG porn of like Tifa getting fucked by Cloud. And like 10 seconds, by the way, count them out.
That's a long time.
That is a long, like,
you could have cut that feed.
Yeah, if it's you, like someone caught you, you're like fuck. 10 seconds is forever. Like, that's the worst.
Yeah, it'd be one thing if it just like Fight Clubbed its way onto the screen.
Yeah, and that's embarrassing enough, by the way, because the internet will nitpick that. Like, I saw it, but like 10 seconds of video, Jesus Christ, like, that's the worst.
Yeah, just think about it.
It's very funny. Oh, by the way, you're gonna like this quite a bit. I saw a Venn diagram of Tifa and Julius Caesar, and it said
what?
Like, the match point was penetrated at an Italian Senate meeting.
That's
fucking
good.
Sucks.
That's good.
That is just like cripplingly embarrassing. Like, I would never go to work again. Like, that's it. It's over.
Wow, brilliant. Okay.
But it's also kind of funny, by the way, because it shows that like people have grown up. Final Fantasy VII is like 20 years old.
I was gonna say that's a very retro thing.
Yeah, when I picture senators, I picture old people, but like we're getting older. Like, we could be senators in a few, like when we're 45 or so. So like, it's just funny to think that senators are thinking of like video game porn.
That's the kind of crap like you would see like on somebody's like Angel Fire website. Like.
Well, that's the thing. Like, I expected like a college kid to get caught with that.
That's
like, Mom, oh god! But like at work, at the politician's workplace.
Yeah, it must have been somebody who was like 35, because like kids these days don't care about Final Fantasy VII. Don't give a damn about it.
But it's come back. There's the remake at least.
Yeah, but like that's mainly for us. It's not for Fortnite kids.
No. Although I will say though, by the way, you'd think people would have learned to like like have a work computer. Like, don't open your fucking private search history like on your political computer.
Yeah, I don't
That's
know.
and like this again. It's not like a senator was caught with this. This was like at a Senate meeting. Everybody saw it. Like it's like when like this is like 2 years ago when the pandemic just started. Nobody knew how to use Zoom. Oh shit, my little brother's like on the camera. Oh fuck, I gotta hold on. I'll be right back, guys. But this is now.
Yeah.
Like whoops.
That you could trace it directly to whoever like had that.
Oh, easily. Like especially if it's Zoom, where like who said that? Like, well, I saw the green circle over your name.
Exactly. Ugh.
So that sucks. Bye.
Yeah. Oh well. Funny though.
Yes. Very funny to like probably everybody except for like I mean including the other senators. Like the only people who didn't find it funny were that guy and the boss.
I mean that's really funny. I mean that's like Jeff Mintner. You know who Jeff Mintner is, right?
I'm not sure.
He's the Tempest 2000 guy. That made Space Giraffe and TXK and
sure.
All those visualizers for all those different systems, including the 360.
Yeah.
So he was doing like a presentation at something and like accidentally like opened up his secret folder.
Oh, come on.
And it was just like I think it was just said naughty stuff or something like that.
This is why when I'm doing Zoom meetings with my students, like it's not like I have fucking porn on my computer, but like just like whatever YouTube video, like Red Letter Media or something, like completely. I don't want them seeing like the goofy shit I'm watching. No, like I'll open a new window, not a new tab. Like you're looking at this and only this.
Yeah, and you're in a like you know a respectful position, a position of respect. They have to, he can't.
Yeah, I'm sure they know I'm a human being, but I'm not going to show that shit like while I'm working.
Exactly. So anyway, moving on. AI, the Somnium files, Nirvana. That is the second game in the AI Somnium files series.
I still need to play the first because I hear it's one of the greats.
Me too. It is by one of the Danganronpa guys, isn't it?
Maybe. I'm a little flaky on this one.
Yeah, it's another Spike Chunsoft adventure game. It's either by the Nonori Games guy or the Danganronpa guy, or
they're
some
both
combination.
Like they're like friends, I think.
Yeah. That's why I get them confused all the time. It's because they're published by the same company, and they're both
they're both murder mystery novels. VNs. It's like pretty on the nose.
Yeah. AI the Somnium Files. I'm gonna look this up. It is directed by Kotaro Uchikoshi, and he made Zero Escape. Okay,
there you go.
All right. So and the Danganronpa games. Okay, well yeah. There we go. So AI the Somnium Files is considered like one of the modern great Japanese adventure games. So I think it's great that that they're making another one, and they finally came out with a release date. It's going to be June 24th of this year.
Yeah, I mean, even though I haven't played the first game, I'm still hyped.
Yeah, I'm hyped too. I mean, it's also a high budget adventure game. Yeah. Usually they're not high budget. So like this actually like has 3D modeling and stuff like that. Sure. Whereas visual novels typically are strictly 2D like affair kind of thing.
And Danganronpa played with it by letting you walk around in 3D in the first game in the school hallways, but the characters like they leaned into the 2D, like they looked like they were cardboard cutouts, and like when you enter rooms they like flip up like a pop book. It was kind of funny.
Yeah, and they do that throughout the whole series, by the way.
And it's just like Doom. You try circling around them, and they just constantly face you.
Yeah, it's very old school like that, but it's fun. It's fun. It also just gives it a distinct look.
Oh, sure, it definitely does, yeah.
Moving on from that, you brought this one up, and I think this is really cool. But,
yeah, this is a quick one. We already knew about this. King of Fighters 15 was going to have as a pre-order bonus, or maybe it said an early order bonus, I guess, Terry's Mark of Wolves leather jacket costume, which is pretty cool. But there's been a trailer for it. You could see it now. There's multiple colors. Although there's one thing that stood out in the trailer for me, which was very funny, because they've been showing character interactions every so often, and one thing really got me. You may remember from, at this point, months ago, I guess, but Tizak is back, except he's not, like, wrestler in bird-style costume. He's, like, in a full bodysuit dinosaur, and he's called King of the Dinosaurs.
It's wonderful.
It's very funny because his voice is muffled because it's behind the suit. But there's one thing that's very funny is in Japan, he's not called Tizak, he's called Griffin because he's like bird guy. And the reason I bring this up is because Terry has always spoken English, but like it's a Japanese voice actor.
Yeah.
Which is
so
why
he goes, "Are you okay?" And bust a wolf.
Hey, come on! Like it sounds cool, but like that's not how I would say it, you know.
Of course
but
not.
There's one thing that was very funny is Terry approaches the dinosaur, and he goes like, "Yo, Griff," and then like Tizak like tenses up, and Terry's like, "Dinosaur," and then he like relaxes. He's just like don't let the secret out. Like that was great. He's just like Oh, okay. So, like, yo, Griff, dinosaur.
For anybody who doesn't
it's amazing.
know, Mark of the Wolves was a unique entry in the Fatal Fury series, and the final one. It took place in the far future, in the series, and Terry was the only character to be included from the previous games.
Well, it's like Street Fighter 3. There's like Ryu and maybe Chun-Li and no one else. And like by the time Third Strike came along, Ken, Akuma, but like they really tried to minimize the Street Fighter 2 cast.
Yeah, in fact, Street Fighter 3 and Mark of the Wolves have a lot in common with each other. Especially in terms of like the way they look. They both are the most beautiful pixel art ever.
Yeah, they push that animation and like just the gorgeous general aesthetic real hard. Especially what was her name? Elena, the capoeira girl in Street Fighter 3?
Yeah.
By the way, can I just say I really appreciated that in Street Fighter 5 she's still way more fluid than anybody else, because it was like it was very obvious in Street Fighter 3, like it was all pixel art, but she was smooth and you're like, what? But like in Street Fighter 5, like, well, everything's technology's a lot better, but she's still smoother than everyone else. I really appreciate they kept that.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is that Terry had always pretty had a little bit of evolution on the way he looked, but not by a lot. He was always in jeans, a white tank top.
He's got the cap
and a trucker cap that said Fatal Fury on it.
Yeah, fingerless gloves.
Fingerless gloves and a red vest.
Yeah.
So what they changed his look. They evolved his look to have a bomber jacket, long. He's always had long hair, but you could never really see it.
It was always tied back in a ponytail.
Yeah, and no hat. And everything else is the same. But the leather jacket look and the hair change was like a big deal in terms of his aesthetics, because he's supposed to look older, and he's also the father figure to another character in
Rock
in
Howard.
Mark of the Wolves. So like they kind of need to make him age him up a little bit.
It's an interesting dynamic because Rock is Geese's son and Terry's like more of a father to him. So like
because Geese is dead.
Oh, is he actually dead by that point?
Well, yeah, Geese dies at the end of Fatal Fury. The game before that.
Okay, because I never knew if it stuck, because he falls out of a building every damn game, so it's like, who knows?
Yeah, no, he's actually dead, and like he Terry's the one who kills him, obviously, and he's a toddler at the time.
So it's like it's like Creed, where Rocky is the father figure because Apollo's dead.
Yeah, exactly. So the end result is that Rock has a hybrid style that is both like
Yes.
Geese and like Terry, which is awesome.
Yeah,
It's
he's got this
really neat.
fast movement and cool little flame moves he could pull off, but he also does like Raging Storm and Deadly Rave from Geese.
It's a wonderful evolution of what you can do with a character when you hybridize them.
Yeah.
It's really, that's why I like Rock. I think he's like one of the best characters, and like he's only recently been showing up more. They took a long time to include Mark of the Wolf's characters um, in the mainstream titles in the series for some reason.
Yeah, for the
I
longest
don't know
time, I
why.
only ever heard of him in Capcom vs. SNK 2, and I was like, "Who's this guy?"
And in fact, my main still hasn't been in another game. So, Marco Rodriguez, aka Kushnu's
Kushnu
butt,
butt.
has never been in another game. But there have been a couple, like Andy and Mai's supposed son hasn't been in anything else, and he was a really good character. I forget what his character's name is, but like, it's I like it when they reference this game because it's one of my it's my I'm gonna come out and say that it's my favorite fighting game of all time is Mark of the Wolves. I just really love it. I am not a fighting game expert or anything close. I'm not very good. But I am a casual fan. I like watching them.
Yeah.
And I like the games that make me look cool. For not having a whole lot of knowledge, because I'm not the kind of person that will just sit there and play like practice mode for 5 years. I'm just not that kind of person. But I do like that game, so I do like it when it pops up. Stuff that references it. So moving on, this is another one from you here.
Yeah, this very much surprised me. You may have heard of, for the original Deus Ex, the Deus Ex Revision mod. It came out several years
Yeah,
ago.
you showed me that.
Yeah, like they changed some of the level design. Like they give Paul an office in UNATCO because he never actually shows up at work in the game. So like he just doesn't have a room. But like realistically, why would he not have an office where he works? So like they changed stuff like that. But recently, Deus Ex on GOG, I'm assuming also on Steam, but I've seen it on GOG. All of a sudden, there's like, I forgot the number. It was like 220 or something, like achievements for Deus
Wow.
Ex, including like I mean, some of them are like revision mod specific. I'm assuming they all require the revision mod, but some are very obviously revision mod specific. Like they announced the name. A lot of these achievements, though, like assume that you grew up with Deus Ex, because some of their names are like specific quotes in the game, like Jesus Christ, Denton. Like you can very easily beat the game without experiencing that line of dialogue. Like you have to go out of your way to find that in the first place, and there's an achievement for it. Like you're supposed to already know the game, it seems. But if you were interested in having achievements for OG Deus Ex, boy, do you ever now.
I think that I really wish I liked that game more than I do. I've tried, and I know you really love it, and
Yeah,
I know
it's
a
my
lot of other
favorite of the
people really love
games.
it.
Like Human Revolution has clearly evolved, but I like the spirit of the original game more.
Sure, I like Human Revolution a lot. It was one of my favorite games when I played it.
Human Revolution spectacular, don't get me wrong, but like it lost a bit of its like choices and consequences
Yeah,
like
no, I
thing from the
understand
original
that.
game. Yeah.
I understand that. It's just that the gameplay of the original Deus Ex is like the gunplay, is
Oh,
not
early
where I
game the
wanted it
gunplay
to
is
be.
shit. Like, why would you even? But like,
Yeah.
once you upgrade your stuff, you still really shouldn't run and gun, but like you can shoot people and expect to hit them.
Well, it's just like I know my stats are low, but I shot this motherfucker in the head. Like, what the fuck? Like,
Oh yeah, later enemies might take a couple.
yeah, but even just like shooting a mook on Liberty Island. Like, I shot him in the head. He didn't die. Like,
Yeah, but like in the original game, your each arm, each leg, your torso, and your head has a health bar. Like, I promise you that guy's health in his head was like 15 or something. Like, you can't just take headshots in that game.
You should be fucking dead.
Should be, but like, you could take a shot in the head and almost die. Like, I bet you that's what happened. Like, he didn't just keep fighting you. If you shoot a guy in the head, he will then run away.
Yeah, I'm talking specifically about I was having a hard time getting past the subway.
Yeah, that part's tricky if you're going in completely cold.
Yeah, so I was so I was trying to get past everything, and like I just shoot everybody 3 times in the head. It's like, what the
fuck? It's a pain in the ass.
Yeah, exactly. It's
just get behind them with a crowbar if you're cruel, or a baton if you're not. Whack them in the back of the head. If you get them from behind, they go down.
Yeah, I'd probably be better at it now, but I haven't played it in a couple years, so it's one of those things that probably my patience has gotten better over time, believe it or not. So
watch my Let's Play on YouTube.
I want to play it for myself though, because I know how important that game is. So
it's great.
Moving on from that, I did talk about a Pocky and Rocky Reshrined trailer earlier a couple weeks ago, but the English version of that trailer just came out, and boy am I excited for this. Have you seen it yet?
Nope.
Definitely watch it. The game looks fucking gorgeous. And as a fan of the other Natsume games, I think this will be right in line. There are 2 new characters.
Called it.
You did call it. One of them is not Becky.
What? There's 2 more key names?
Yeah, the goddess that bestows Pocky with her powers is playable, and a deceased like female samurai who's like a ghost of vengeance.
Okay.
Who's really neat. She has like a lot of like melee attacks and stuff. And she's thunder based.
Okay.
Is the 4th character. So it looks fucking gorgeous, and I cannot wait for that to come out. Speaking of, I forgot one thing here in the notes, and I should have said it. Limited Run Games also put up pre-orders for River City Girls 0.
This is a game that's already existed. Like, it's an old, like, Japanese only game, but now you can get it.
Yeah, so this is one of the games that was conspicuously missing from the River City collection that they recently put out. And it's probably the best Kunio-kun game from the retro era. They basically stopped making Kunio-kun games, River City games, until the Game Boy Advance. They stopped making them in the Super Famicom era, and then started making them again in the Game Boy Advance, and then later on mostly the DS and 3DS brought them back, and now they're back on consoles. But yeah, for a long time there, they kind of died out. But this might possibly be the best beat 'em up out of all of them. And it was called Kunio-kun Tenchi no Banka, I think is the Japanese title. But they are this is a Super Famicom game that had not been officially translated. It had been fan translated to English, but they are officially translating it and offering it as a separate release to go along as kind of a backstory bonus to River City Girls 2. They're calling it River City Girls 0 because the girls are both in that game and have something to do with the story.
Yeah, that's the thing that you don't play as them, but that's the thing that I think a lot of people may not know is River City Girls wasn't new characters, and they're girls. They've been there. We just didn't know about it.
Yeah, exactly. And River City Girls was particularly fun. Not just because it's a gorgeous looking game and a gorgeous sounding game, which it absolutely both are, but it's also a celebration of Double Dragon and basically Technos games in general, River City games and Double Dragon games from all eras. It has like nods even to like the more recent stuff like Double Dragon Neon, like Skullomania's in it, or Skullmageddon.
Yeah, Skullmageddon. Skullomania is the better name, but Skullmageddon is great.
Skullmageddon is in the game.
Ow, my fibula. That guy's great.
Bon voyage!
You time to make my marrow escape. It's just like, he knows exactly what he's doing.
He is a fucking Skeletor parody, and he's not afraid to show it.
The best part is the continue screen
the best.
of Double Dragon Neon. Yeah,
it's the best continue screen.
Well, yeah, it's an homage to like Final Fight and Ninja Gaiden, where your character's in a situation where they're gonna die if you don't put a quarter in. But in he's going to poke your eyes with his fingers, and if you
they're
continue...
very pointy.
They are very pointy. But if you continue, then your brother comes in and, like, blocks his fingers, like, Three Stooges style. Like, with a vertical karate chop thing, like, between his fingers. Like, haha! Like, it's so dumb.
Double Dragon Neon is... I think it's low-key one of the best beat-em-ups ever made. I don't think that game gets nearly enough
It's hands down the best Double Dragon game.
Oh, it doesn't have a whole lot of competition. I mean, as much as I love Double Dragon, it was good for the time, but, like, everything else is better.
That's the anytime I look back at Double Dragon, like, this is the one you want to play. I don't know about 1, but 2, that's the one. And I'm like...
2 is good until it isn't. Once it gets to the platforming bullshit, then the game is over.
But even the basic gameplay, though, I'm like, I don't care enough.
2 on the NES just also has iconic music and an iconic look to it.
Yeah,
so
it does.
That's part of the reason why I really like that game. It's not just the gameplay; it's kind of just like the whole. It's a very nostalgic for me because it's one of those games that I rented a lot, and it just looks cool and sounds cool. For an NES game, it has like a very unique color palette, and like it just has a dark look to it. I also like the character designs and all that stuff. I just think it just looks and sounds cool. But again, I don't think there was ever truly a good like all-round good Double Dragon game until Double Dragon Neon.
Yeah, Neon.
Yeah.
That soundtrack is freaking crazy.
I'll retract that statement. Double Dragon Advance is excellent. It's just you probably may not have played it.
Yeah, no.
But yeah, that was also like a post Double Dragon. That was a post Trade West game. It was a Game Boy Advance game. So, this. I can't wait for the new River City Girls because it's going to have more playable characters. You're going to be able to play as Kunio and Alex,
oh come on, Marion, I believe.
Oh yeah.
Who's a fucking tank, by the way. If you remember her from like River City Girls 1, whoa, she's got like a 6-pack. She's like a total badass.
Yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be really good, and I'm definitely going to buy River City Girls 0. In fact, I already did. I recommend it if you are a fan of old school, 16-bit beat 'em ups. It's one of the best of that era. It was one that we didn't get. It's up there with like, I would say it's up there with Final Fight 3 and Streets of Rage 2. Just like one of the best beat 'em ups on that system. It's up there with like that. What else is Ghost Chaser Densei? That's another really good one on that on from that era. A lot of the really good beat 'em ups in the arcade at the time, Predator,
Cop.
Alien versus Predator. I was gonna say Undercover Cops Alpha Revival. That's a lot of fun too.
Just pick up a motorcycle, just beat somebody with it.
Yeah, those are all the really good ones from that era. I mean, later on, you once Guardian Heroes hits, you start seeing like RPG elements. More and more being added to beat 'em ups, like the Dungeons and Dragons Capcom games. then you start seeing the evolution that way. I mean, you even see the influence of those in Double Dragon Neon. You have levels and stuff like that, and in Scott Pilgrim, but like and a lot of that came from River City Ransom to begin with, but it became more and more commonplace after that. So, but yeah, good stuff. But after that, there was also a new trailer for Star Wars Eclipse. This is the new Quantic Dream Star Wars game. Did you get a chance to see this?
Nope.
I don't particularly care, and I also don't want to support Quantic Dream about this game, but I do like the trailer, and
Sure.
I'll explain why. This is a cinematic trailer, and I think it would be because, it's a Quantic Dream game. It's going to probably be a cinematic game. It's not going to be an action-based game. I wouldn't think that. But what I liked about it was they kind of added a dark Dune-ish tone to Star Wars, which Star Wars typically doesn't have.
Although, ironically, it was inspired by Dune in the first place.
Yeah, but Star Wars is mostly
it's an adventure.
A fantasy adventure that is on... It does have its low points, but it's not gloomy, typically. It's not oppressive. Like, there are moments that shows up, but it's generally... has kind of a adventure tone to it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't have like a Dark Souls foreboding, like everything fucking sucks tone.
Yeah.
Even in its darkest moments, even in Empire Strikes Back, or it doesn't. It still has that lighthearted touch. Well, this has like a very dark feel to it that I think Star Wars needs. I think it'd be cool to see it, but again, it's Quantic Dream, so I doubt it'll be good. So, and also they're a bunch of dirtbags. So, moving on. Zen Pinball just confirmed Indiana Jones Pinball Adventure is coming in March. They had announced it. But this is a recreation of a real pinball table that has never been recreated digitally officially before. So just very excited for this, and they finally gave a launch window for it, and it's coming to all of the different services that Pinball FX is on. So even the Nintendo Switch and everything, it's going to be right there. This is exciting. So we had recently talked about, maybe about 2 months ago or so, the Nis Classics Volume 2 is something to really be excited about. Because, they announced the date it's coming out, which is May 10th. But this will be the first re-release in America, in the Western world, of Makai Kingdom, which is one of NIS's best games. Let's just
of the era, at least.
Of that era, yeah.
Because, this is the era of La Pucelle Tactics, Disgaea 1 and 2, Phantom Brave, Makai Kingdom. I think Makai Kingdom is probably the best one in terms of, gameplay and aesthetic. Although I do still probably prefer Disgaea 1's story the most. But Makai Kingdom is, you could see the evolution of the games as they keep getting made, and Makai Kingdom is the pinnacle of that era, I think.
Yeah. Well, what's particularly good about this, they confirmed. So Makai Kingdom, you might have guessed from what I said earlier, in that it was the first time it's been re-released to Western audiences, is that Makai Kingdom was re-released on PSP along with a lot of other NIS games, and we got most of them, but we didn't get this one for whatever fucking reason. And like they did with the games back then, is they added content to the game when they moved it to PSP. They confirmed that same PSP added content is going to be a part of this collection.
Good
so
stuff.
This will be the definitive release of Makai Kingdom. for English speaking audiences. So NIS is particularly good about like when they re-release something, it's in its most recent form usually, or with all of its newest stuff added intact. They've been really good at that. Square Enix is not good at that. And that's why I say that. Like there were many versions of Disgaea 1, and they are all pretty iterative, and they are continuing to keep up with that like the most recent Switch version has all the stuff that all the previous games do. Previous versions of 1 do. So I'm excited. I mean, this will be the first time since and the other game is ZHP, which is a very good. That's their take on a roguelike or roguelite at the time. So I definitely recommend this. I actually did a review of ZHP back in the day. So Zettai Hero Project is what that stands for. So I'm excited. Next one is yours, Lotus.
Yeah, this is a super quick one. We are recording this on Sunday the 30th. By the time this goes up, it should be Tuesday the 1st. But I believe, unless there's some delay, Bloodborne PSX, the demake of the first area of Bloodborne, like Central Yharnam, should be out yesterday, like the 31st. And if I can get it to run on my PC that I stream with, maybe I'll even stream it, or maybe I'll even have streamed it. I guess we'll find out.
Well, I'm excited. Kind of going along with that, I kind of wanted to talk about the haunted PS1 stuff.
Oh, sure.
Because I did not pick this up, but I talked about the haunted PS1 demo disc of 2021. I this is a late news item, but they did another one for Christmas. So they did the haunted PS1 Madvent calendar for 2021.
Nice.
Which is great. So what that is it's a combination of like fan-made games done in the early 3D PS1 style, and are typically horror themed. So it's something that is up mine and Lotus's alley. So they do something for Halloween every year, a new release for Halloween every year, and apparently now they do one for Christmas every year, because this is the second year in a row they did something like that. So I just kind of wanted to bring that up because I forgot to mention it when it did come out a couple months ago. And let's see here. This is a really interesting thing. So apparently Kung Fu Master had a sequel. Most people know this as Kung Fu on the original NES.
Yeah.
But there was an arcade version of it called Kung Fu Master. It's one of the few NES black box games from like the original releases that was made by a third-party company. The other one, major one, being 10 Yard Fight, which was also made by Irem. And there's also Rare made Slalom. So there's a couple outsourced games back from that black box era of NES games, but Kung Fu was like a very early one-plane beat-em up, is what they call them. So unlike a game like Final Fight, where you can move up and down like isometrically and then move forward, this was a beat 'em up where you just move forward or backward and you punch.
Yeah, it's entirely 2D, and it's Game of Death. You fight your way up a tower to beat a boss.
Yeah, exactly. So the original Kung Fu was pretty darn iconic. Like, a lot of people had that when the NES came out, and it was a fun game for that early era, because there was nothing else really like it. But apparently Irem had completed a sequel to it, an arcade sequel called Kung Fu Master 2, or Beyond Kung Fu, which was I think the one of the other names for it, whether it was like the international version or whatever. They had completed work on the game, and they did a test location on it, and they decided to drop it based off of the testing. So it was kind of like Clockwork Aquario in that the game was completed, but never released because of location testing.
Yeah, although if we want to follow up the IREM connection, it's like Disaster Report 4. I mean, that didn't release for a different reason, but they made it and they were like, nope, and then it finally showed up later.
So this is one of those amazing instances where a complete game from a bygone era that also is a sequel to a well-known title that was rescued recently, and it was dumped. So apparently there are some problems with the decryption on the game, but for the most part the game is preserved. So like if they can figure out the decryption, which I'm sure in the future they will, they will have a full and complete game that they thought was once lost, which is really neat. I definitely want to play it, because here's the thing about arcade games is like maybe like part of the reason why it didn't wasn't successful is probably maybe because of the amount of quarters like that it didn't bring in. But that doesn't mean I wouldn't want to play it, because like it might be good, it just might be easy to master, or something, or it might just be that like part of the location testing is also that it has to attract people to play it. Like it's not that you bring it to a location and you tell people, hey, what do you think about this game? It's more like they put it in between Pac-Man and like a few other well-known titles, and they hope that people put in a quarter. So it could be a perfectly great game. It's just that, it failed to attract people, which is a different thing than actually being good, right? So, I'm looking forward to that.
I mean, think of Nier. That was a sleeper game until Automata retroactively made it popular.
Exactly. Oh, and this is Gorillas related, isn't it, Lotus? You could
it is.
Talk about this one.
Repeatedly on this podcast, you have mentioned that, like, sometimes if bands get into drama, they have irreconcilable differences or whatever, but you've mentioned that if something happens with the Gorillas, it's probably because Damon did something to piss somebody off, but then they, like, smooth things out later.
Yes.
Well, guess what? That happened.
So Damon, while I think Damon Albarn, who is the frontman of Blur and more, I think even more famously the Gorillaz, because the Gorillaz put out way more music than Blur ever did, and has had way more staying power. You just don't know it's him, unless you follow Gorillaz. But yeah, he shoots from the hip a lot and pisses people off a lot.
Yeah, and in this case, he was in some interview or something, and somehow, I forgot, somehow Taylor Swift came up. But he said that she doesn't write her own songs, and the guy was like, there's clearly credits of her having written, and he's like, yeah, co-writing isn't the same, like, it's just doesn't write her own music. And so Taylor Swift responded on Twitter, like, she was really pissed off about that, because that's just like that's just like a shitty
it's
thing to say.
It's also unnecessary. He doesn't need to like hate on her.
Yeah, like out of nowhere. So she like was like, what the, like that's super uncool. Like, I was a fan of your music, so it really hurts to read this. What the hell? So Damon Albarn, like,
she has the right attitude.
She's on point. But so Damon Albarn responded on Twitter. Like, he made a full apology. It's just that he said, like, it was something about how it was one small clip in an interview and it may have been taken out of context, but you know what? Like, this is not the phrasing he used, but this is the attitude. Basically, he was gonna, like, he'll be the bigger, well, not the bigger person, but like he'll be big and apologize for it, regardless of whether that was an actual accurate take on what he said. Even though everybody on Twitter was like, it was totally fucking accurate. Like, but it's cool that he apologized anyway.
Well, here's the thing. He might be commenting on the state of the industry, where, like, a lot of the really popular artists, even though they write a lot of stuff, and this goes goes back all the way is that a lot of them rely on producers. It's a collaborative effort to make their music, and that is not an old or this is not a new thing. This is a thing that's been going on forever. The Beatles had producers like Phil Spector, a famous human piece of shit. Phil Spector produced their music and made them sound the way they did. They did not make all that music themselves. Even the four of them.
Well, it's like what my dad said. They were like teenagers or maybe early 20-somethings from Liverpool. That doesn't mean they're like these god characters that just make the perfect thing every time. Like they're kids.
Yeah, and they were kids even when they broke up. They were relatively young.
Yeah.
So a lot of people forget that. It's like, people just looked older back then. But
that's the thing. Like, a bunch of them are alive today. It's not, they weren't grown ass men in the 60s. They're not 90 years old today.
Yeah. So, like, even the most talented people collaborate with other talented people. That's how things come out. Like, nobody makes... very few people are like Damon Albarn, who just, like, fucking, like, make everything himself. Damon Albarn, like, is... And he doesn't even do that. Let me just also specify that as talented and as great as I believe him to be, like, his most recent album, like Song Machine, is a complete collaboration with other famous people.
Well, I was gonna mention, like, there's a lot of, like, freestyle rapping and stuff like that, and Elton John singing. It's like, I don't think Damon Albarn fed, like, Robert Smith his lines.
No, of course not. Like, you think he told Elton John what to fucking do?
Yeah. Like, come on,
Elton John would tell him to go fuck himself. Like, like, Elton John doesn't have time, for a prima donna, like, because he is one. He doesn't have enough time to be bullied around by somebody else. He's gonna say what he wants to say, So, Damon Albarn is, and probably doesn't even have any insider knowledge about Taylor Swift either. Like, he probably doesn't even, like, actually know anything that he's saying.
Well, I mean, like, how would he, unless they coincidentally work under the same label, which I don't think they do.
No, they're on different continents.
That's like, yeah, that's a big duh moment on my part.
I mean, he's an Englishman. Like,
yeah.
What I'm trying to say is he is just a kind of person that is very he foments things. He starts fights a lot, and he always has. And as much as I love him and love his music, he's a very temperamental person. And I'm not gonna apologize for that. I'm like, he's just that way, and everybody who's ever worked with him has gotten mad at him at one time or another. Like, for any extended amount of time, I should say. His guest stars haven't said anything bad about him, obviously, but like, like, he broke up with Blur, like, one of the most famous bands at the time. He broke up with Jamie Hewitt, like, multiple times during the Gorillaz, and said at one point that there would never be another Gorillaz album ever again, and then put out 2 of them.
I mean, you know what it makes me think of? Like, it makes me think of, like, living with somebody, or, like, even with a family member, and then moving out and seeing them sometimes, and you realize you have a much better... They just needed some space.
He's just a temperamental person that probably just has bad days. Like, he just, maybe he even has, like, some mental issues or something, and like, on his good days, he's great, that kind of thing. But, like, on his bad days, he might suck. I've known people like that. I've loved people like that. Like, I've had people in my life like that. Sometimes, a person that you see, twice a year. Like, that's enough, and it's good.
Oh yeah,
everybody.
You see them once, you get your little flash of, like, this is what they're like in public, and I like this. I would just rather not live with them. Yeah,
yeah, living with somebody or collaborating with somebody who can be very frustrating, especially when egos are involved.
Yeah.
And you have to let the other person have some ownership of it.
Well, that's kind of the thing here. Like, I mean, even outside of ownership, it just makes me think of like, I mean, you do D&D, right? Like, do you have somebody in your group who like tries to like manipulate what other people do, like in a battle situation? Like, you should go here, you should go here.
No, we don't have a person who is overly. In fact, we have a problem.
You can't do that in real life either. Is my point. Like you are the protagonist of your life, but you're not the protagonist of life. Like, other people have free will. You can't just police every little thing they do.
We typically give each other's. First of all, it's kind of like a good relationship in that, like, I trust the other guys to do something sensible. So first of all, we don't have to talk about everything before, like, what a person makes a decision. But the other end of it is that, like, sometimes we overly talk about it. Well,
in my groups, we might talk about, like, before we get into a situation, how things are going to work, but the DM has repeatedly come in and be like, things probably don't go according to every little very oddly specific detail of a plan, especially when it involves rolling dice. Just
exactly
spitball what you're going to do and then just see what happens.
Yeah, exactly. And the DM generally will make sure the ball keeps rolling if they're a good DM. So my DM even, like, adds cushion into it so you just don't fucking die sometimes, like.
Yeah, I've had that. Like, my DM has explicitly said that, like, once you hit level 5, all bets are off, but if you're just starting, he'll try to throw you several bones. Like, technically, my character should be dead right now, but, like, I had my 1, and now I'm level 5, so, like, whatever happens.
Exactly. So, it's just one of those things, like, you have to have trust, and you also have to have people that make good decisions, like, as part of the people who surround you and affect your life. Like, me and my wife, we are so in sync that, like, I just expect her to make a good decision. We don't belabor everything, for instance. And it's worked out great. I'm not questioning everything she does because she has good judgment on her own.
And not only that, but, like, that would be, like, a toxic thing to do anyway.
Yeah, no, that would suck. It would suck for me. It would suck for her.
Yeah, so, like, how would you like it if someone was questioning every little thing you did? Like, that fucking sucks.
Yeah, but there are relationships like that. I'm saying that our relationship is good like that. It has a large level of trust, and respect. So, yeah. But anyway, that Damon Albarn, a very wonderful artist, but just a complicated person. And the last one is yours.
Yeah, this came out extremely recently, like shortly before we started recording. But apparently, rest in peace, John William Galt. Now you might ask, who is John Galt? It's not an Ayn Rand book. I'm sorry. It's an actual person. But he was the voice of Lo Wang. Now, I don't know, like, was he the same guy? Because, like, the picture I saw on Twitter was 90s Lo Wang. But did he reprise his role in 2013 Shadow Warrior, or was that a different guy? Either way, at least he was the voice of Lo Wang. No, the newest one is the guy who's the guy from Uncharted. Oh, okay. No, not Troy Baker. That's fucking Nolan North.
Nolan North. I think Nolan North is modern.
Okay, so John William Galt then, I guess, was old school Lo Wang.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure about that.
Okay, so because they posted the 90s image, so it seems that I guess that was the case. So he is known for possibly actor as well. Okay, but Jesus, he was Joseph Manderley, Jock, and Tracer Tong in Deus Ex. Those are radically different voices. Whoa. But he's also been in Prey, the 2006 Prey, the Cyanide and Happiness show. They had, like, an animated thing. He was in Walker, Texas Ranger, like as an actor, not a voice. He was the voice of President Johnson in Forrest Gump. Wow, okay. He was a voice in JFK. Like, even in some movies he was in, he was just a voice, which is kind of interesting. But, yeah, Lo Wang in Old School Shadow Warrior. A few people in Daikatana. But Joseph Manderley in Deus Ex. Wow. What do you know?
Wow. Really interesting.
Yeah, old man Joseph Manderley. Like, oh, JC, it's good to see you. Like, oh, that guy. That wasn't an actual line, but that's his voice.
Oh no, I am wrong here. It's Jason Liebrecht is
okay, not Nolan North. All right.
Yeah, I thought it was Nolan North though. Maybe, well, this is in the first game or in Shadow Warrior 2. Maybe there was a change, but I don't think so. I don't know.
I'll look it up, but Nolan North is a particularly known name.
Yeah.
So, like, I would have thought I would have heard of this if he were in Shadow Warrior.
Yeah, maybe I just heard that somewhere, but yeah.
Yeah, he's not coming up in Shadow Warrior.
No, it's Jason
you might have
Liebrecht
just,
in the
original. Yeah, you might have just thought it was a different voice or something.
Remake game.
Although he apparently had a few voices. What the fuck? 2016 to present? Mad Max animated series?
What?
That's a thing that exists.
What, Nolan North?
Yeah, like, just not the character Mad Max, but like in a show, Mad Max the animated series. I didn't know that was a thing that existed.
Huh.
Well, but
and this is from two big Mad Max fans. Jesus Christ. How did I not know about this?
From 2016 to present? What? Excuse me? Why do I never heard of this? But and he was also apparently in Yakuza, like PS2 Yakuza, as additional voices. Maybe one of the thugs or something. What the fuck? When they pick a fight with you on the street. So much swearing.
Wow.
Armored Core 4. Very nice, very nice. But yeah, he's been in about 1 billion video games, but I guess not Shadow Warrior. Maybe he just sounded like him or something.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh well, we have been going over quite long at this point, though. We should probably start wrapping up.
Yeah, we should get going here. But yeah, that is the show for this week. Please remember to subscribe to the Corrective Consciousness YouTube and SoundCloud pages. While there, please give us thumbs ups, likes, and 5-star ratings on iTunes. That helps promote and spread awareness of the show, and any bit of encouragement helps keep the show going. You can also catch us on Thursday for our sister podcast, Corrective Consciousness, where we will be going over what works in adaptations and what doesn't. Finally, you can friend me as vysethebold on pretty much anything. Just give me a heads up on who you are and how you know me.
And you can follow me on my YouTube channel, Lotus Prince. You can hit me up on Twitter at Lotus Prince. And finally, if you are interested in seeing my videos early, getting in on exclusive live streams, selecting upcoming games for me to Let's Play, or getting in conversations with me and other patrons on Discord, then perhaps consider swinging by my Patreon account, which can be found at patreon.com/LotusPrince.
That's just prime. We'll catch everyone next on Thursday then.
Yeah, until next time, everyone.
Bye-bye.